Join the Our Game Supporters Club at Patreon for €5 per month to get audio podcasts of the Hurling and Football Show and much more exclusive material. So Waterford are through to the All-Ireland semi-final after a pulsating win over Tipperary at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Finished up 428 to 227 at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. 14 different scores for Waterford. Pretty much the ultimate team performance when you think that so many players could contribute like that throughout the course of the game. A lot of different players really kind of contributed to this. No more so than the bench. The likes of Neil Montgomery coming off the bench, scoring maybe 1-2. Michael Kiley coming in, getting a score, also setting up a score himself. I think Tipperary will be pulling their hair out, and we'll come to that for a finish. But what a job done by Liam Cahill. This is a team that for a couple of seasons couldn't even win a game after getting to an All-Ireland final. Obviously, that was devastating for a lot of the players. But he's taken over a team and got to an All-Ireland Munster final and an All-Ireland final last year. Terrible start to the championship this year. Very poor against Clare for a lot of the game, but they were missing an awful lot of players. So he's kind of tried to, rejig the team on the hoof, and look at what he's done. He's got them back to an All-Ireland semi-final again against Kilkenny, and that'll be coming in a couple of weeks' time. And they'll be glad of a break here because, they were flagging towards the end of the game, and it looked like Tipperary were going to take over. I mean, in the last quarter, Tipperary were fairly much running away with it up until late on. Of the last, I think 1-3, Waterford scored 1-3 from injury time onwards, and before that they were struggling for a long time during the fourth quarter. They took over the third quarter, won 1-7 to 3 points. I don't necessarily like to pin this down to the penalty, but the penalty was obviously a huge turning point. It was 218 to 214 at the time. 4 points is obviously not too far ahead against a team like Tipperary who can score fairly freely when they're in their flow. Don't see what the penalty was for. Obviously, Austin Gleeson was going through. He got hooked. Then there was a few hurleys flying in as he regathered it, and then a brilliant save from Barry Hogan. Don't really see what the penalty was for. I'm sure plenty out there would get your comments in as well, and let me know what you think. But Waterford, they then, after winning that third quarter, 1-7 to 3 points, maybe they seemed to be in a tailspin towards the latter end. But Liam Cahill, he ran his bench, brought the right lads on. They made a difference. As I said, Neil Montgomery, he got his 1-2. Colin Dunford got a point. Even Darragh Lyons was involved in getting a score in there as well. And for Tipperary, the decision making. I mean, and it's all about decision making at this level of the game. And I'm not sure how many wides Tipperary had from 100 yards, but it wouldn't be far off the double figures. Ronan Maher was brilliant there in the second half in terms of winning the ball, but a few times just let the ball fly from 100 yards. And I don't know, I struggle to understand it. It's something that I flagged beforehand in the hurling show last week. Is this something that Tipperary would solve for this game? Because the ball, sometimes the delivery to the inside line, if it wasn't been fired out to the corner flag, and this was something that I think Joe Canningham was frustrated with last week against Waterford, and obviously Waterford trying to make sure that the angle to hit a lovely one inside isn't there. But Tipperary were delivering the ball out to the corner flag, or else they were hitting it 100 miles an hour straight at a forward, trying to come out and control it while you had a defender up its backside. It's just not conducive. So Tipperary just made it very difficult on themselves throughout by just shooting from absolutely everywhere. I mean, a lot of these lads shooting from 100 yards. If a team wants you shooting, they'll have you playing in the forward line. So this is completely self-destructive, because not only is it a killer for your own team, it's some boost for the opposition. And also, if you're Seamus Callan and you're looking at a ball going over your head like that, you're frustrated. And if you're Conor Prunty or Shane McNulty or Ian Kenny and you're seeing it going over your head, you're just thinking, great, this is fantastic. Keep doing that all day. So Tipperary never lay down, never died in their boots at all. And to make a burst like that in the fourth quarter just showed that team isn't going to lie down. But you'd have to question, number one, what sort of direction was going to the players that they can continue to shoot from 100 yards throughout the game. This is a feature of the Tipperary team the last couple of years that has been, much to my frustration. If I put on the Tipperary supporter cap for a second, most people who watch the shows will know I'm from Tipperary and I'm down here in Tipperary broadcasting. But that was very frustrating to watch, the amount of shots from 100 yards. The other thing is, as flagged in the show last Thursday when I was chatting with Ryan O'Dwyer, why is Mark Keogh not starting? He came on and it was very, very evident that Mark Keogh should have been starting this game. Tipperary started 4 guys who were aged 30 plus with 50 years of intercounty experience from them. Tipperary, nothing. Absolutely brilliant players. But I'm not sure you can play 4 lads who are in their 30s against a team with the amount of energy that Waterford have and think you're going to get through the 70 minutes. And look, even perhaps it's fortunate that Waterford were playing a third weekend in a row, that Tipperary could keep into them and chase them down towards the end of the game. But I mean, Paddy Cadell, with that long flag that he should be starting for a long time, he came in and did as well as anybody out there. You know, he's not sent backwards when he gets the ball. He rarely is. But I couldn't understand Tipperary when they were making substitutions, and there could be injuries involved in this. But when you're bringing on the likes of Seamus Kennedy, that you're taking off, you know, maybe the likes of Barry Heffernan, who's a young guy who should be able to run for 70 minutes. As I said, there could be an injury, but you know, I just wonder latter stage of the game if you were bringing on the likes of Noel McGrath, whose influence only grew towards the end of the game, because first half he wasn't particularly good at all. Got blocked down a few times. Huge amount of turnovers in this game. You know, it's very hard to analyse it when there's so many turnovers, and both teams are profiting from them. But Waterford had their 4 goal chances in the first half. Probably should have scored more than them. Jack Prendergast was key to that. He set up the one for Austin Gleeson. He set up the one for Desi Hutchinson. You can see why he plays sort of a roaming centre forward role and coming through at pace, because he's gonna upset a team that way. Also, Patrick Curran, I should say, for that second goal for Desi Hutchinson, the way he turned and ran through after a turnover on Tipperary, one of many turnovers on Tipperary. And he stayed going, even though Paddy Maher tried to put him down. Seamus Callanan got the 2 goals for Tipperary, and that's 39 championship goals at this stage for him, all from play. Nobody can come close in the game. No player that has played in the last 20 years or so comes close to his 39 championship goals. So, but again, probably no pre-season there, which is probably why he was taken off midway through the second half. And, you know, looking at the Munster final when the management were very slow to make changes, you know, he probably should have been taken off earlier in that game. Like, John McGrath came in and made a difference. Now, his shot probably should have put it into the ground. Easy say that when you're watching it from a distance, but great save from Sean O'Brien, and that possibly was the winner of the game and the saving of the season for Waterford. But like, look at what Liam Cahill has done. His teams go to the death. I mean, they came out and dug this one out when things were in the melting pot late on. Look at him last year. They were the team that pushed Waterford or Limerick closest in the Munster final. It didn't happen for them in the All-Ireland, but they were 12 points down, and Kilkenny turned it around and won that game. And yeah, they had the penalty, but I don't think it would have been a fair reflection on how they played overall if they didn't get through here. So many scores, as I said, 14 different scorers, ran a tip all day. Just great bravery on throughout that game, and they fully deserved to go through. I'll just go through some of the comments here from people. Penalty decision was awful, says Derek Halpin. Great game otherwise. Would Waterford deserve winners? Can easily see a Limerick-Waterford final again this year. Let's see, Jared Markham, no breakout again next week in the semi-finals. Well, yeah, well, that is the thing now for Waterford, that they are straight out again, and that's a massive ask. Jamie Wallace, will you be doing a live reaction for the Ulster final? I will indeed. Porrick Gill, tip are finished. Let's see now. Another comment in here from TK90. I might be right, I might be wrong, but Tipperary lost it on the sideline. Management has stuck to the old guns way too often. Granted, the fact Paddy Cadell started, other than that, nothing can persuade me that a lot of the starting 15 are still at the level required. Bring in Brian McGrath, Paddy Cadell, Craig Morgan, Mark Keogh as regular starters. Well, I did say coming into the game that I did want Paddy Cadell started. I wanted Mark Keogh started, and there are other people who would have felt that same way. And so Tipperary just short youth and legs. Well, the players are there, would be my thought. And if you look at the team, like the under-20 and under-21 team that won the All-Irelands in 2018 and 2019, very few of them have been blooded and given the amount of game time required, whereas the Cork team that they bet, those players have been playing ever since, and they were a much heralded Cork team. But I mean, that is the thing. Paul Young finishes off there. Subs should have been brought on sooner for Tipperary, and I wonder for Liam Sheedy, and obviously he trusted a lot of those players to stay going again, and certainly in patches some of the older players played really well today, some more so than others, of course. But you just wonder, is he going to continue on? Is he going to look for a fourth year in charge of this Tipperary side? Will he want it himself? Will there be a mood for change? Certainly the amount of people that are referring to Liam Cahill as the next Tipperary manager, he really is carving out quite a career as an inter-county boss when you consider minor All-Ireland with Tipperary, under-21, under-20, and now he's after getting Waterford back to another All-Ireland semi-final. And this is a Waterford team, as I said, that had had a couple of very poor seasons after getting to the All-Ireland in 2018. Joe Butler, the better team, won, but hard to agree with the penalty. I think most people would accept that Waterford were the better team and certainly deserved to go through. And like, as I said, back to the 14 scores and from play, what the mood in that camp as they go into an All-Ireland semi-final now will be huge. Will that take something out of their legs? I mean, they had to go all the way to the death against Laois into injury time to win that game. The same last week against Galway, and the same again in this game where they're going miles ahead and being pulled back again. But what a fantastic performance from Waterford, fully deserved. And let's see, one little comment: you should have prayed a bit more fervently to the Sacred Heart. This is my father's house, and he obviously has the Sacred Heart there behind me. Anyway, so that's it. Tipperary are gone, and Waterford march on. Keep your comments coming in and let me know what you think. Join the Our Game Supporters Club at Patreon for €5 per month to get audio podcasts of the Hurling and Football Show and much more exclusive material.